Yo, what's up guys? Kevin here. Today I'm in Comor and Whistler and I'm going to take you guys through some of the weirdest powder shapes out there. These boards are fairly rare and they're also pretty expensive. And in this video we're going to talk to you guys about these boards, why their weird shapes are actually amazing for powder, and how they're so different from regular snowboards out there. So let's get into it. We've got TJ here from Board Archive to help us talk about the boards.
What's up, guys?
Also, Andreas from Comor here in Whistler.
Hey guys, what's going on?
All right, so TJ is going to start us off talking about a very unique shaped board, the Battalion Surfer.
Yeah, guys, so this was a board I got to ride out in Japan, had an amazing time on it. First thing I think about with this snowboard is just unsinkable float and really quick turns. A lot you could talk about tech-wise, but I think the thing I'm gonna highlight is the difference on how this board would perform on hard pack versus soft snow. So if you think about on a groomer, you're really just using the board between the contact points, which is the widest point on the nose and the tail. And with the Surfer, you actually get that rear contact point way out here at the end of the swallowtail, which is nice. But then when you take it on soft snow, you get the bonus of this big rockered nose. So you get the bonus of all that surface area helping you to float. And then on the tail, you actually lose a bunch of surface area. So the end of the board is actually quite close to your back foot, which helps drop the tail and pop the nose up and really helps this guy float.
So a really unique ride. When you're riding a groomed run, you're really using these rails and edges compared to in powder where you've got this massive nose to help you float, right?
Totally, man. Yeah, and I think that gives this board a really interesting feeling, and then you got this crazy awesome shape as well, which just makes you feel good out there.
All right, Andreas, tell us about maybe the weirdest board of them all, the Yes 2020. It's a strange one, very unique.
Yeah, Kevin, so this is definitely a cool one to talk about. It's utilizing a key technology here called powder hull technology, which is these concave pockets in the tip and the tail of the snowboard. It's designed to give the board natural lift in the front and then draft in the back so that the board will always float in the snow. The other really cool thing about this guy is that it's hard to find a twin powder board. Most powder boards are directional and set back. This guy here is still perfectly symmetrical so that you can land jumps in switch.
I think the coolest thing about this board is the fact that it's see-through.
Yeah, the tip and the tail are coreless, so the only thing in there is fiberglass, which reduces the swing weight, makes the board super agile.
How does it feel to ride?
It was really cool to ride, man. I got to test this thing out last season on a demo day, and what I noticed was that it stays pretty level and to the pitch of the snow when you're riding it in powder, you know, so it doesn't kick back a lot. Feels like you're riding on a normal groomed run, but gives you that float in the pow.
Amazing, man. I think of all these boards, this one is on top of my list to try this year.
Yeah, super fun.
All right guys, so next up, the Yes 420. I've actually had the chance to ride this board many times in powder, and the unique and kind of strange thing about it is it's one of the shortest and widest powder boards around. So if you guys can kind of see the width, super wide, and then length, it's very short. But this length actually allows you to make very quick turns through the powder. So if you love to ride through the trees, to make quick turns, to put up big sprays, this is gonna allow you to do that. I got to ride this board at Mount Bachelor in Oregon, which is notorious for the powder and for the trees. And the extra width and the short length really allowed me to just get in between trees very quickly. So a board that's very maneuverable and floats really well in the snow because of this short and fat shape it's got. So not the craziest looking board, but it definitely does the job well. So TJ, take us through this board here, the Jones Storm Chaser.
All right, so the Storm Chaser, this is a board I owned last season, spent a lot of days on it. Again, a lot you could talk about with this snowboard, but the thing I'm gonna focus on is something that's common in quite a few powder boards as well as this one, and that is the directional flex. So you've got this long nose outside the contact points, and the flex of the nose is actually softer as well. So what that's gonna do is help the board kind of bend and plane on top of the snow rather than push into the snow.
So you're saying there's like a big sort of rocker zone out towards the nose?
Yeah, so you've got this big rocker nose. It's also softer flexing, and that just kind of helps the board bend and get up on top of the powder versus powering and pushing into the powder. So a common feature on a lot of powder boards and definitely helps out on the Storm Chaser here.
Where have you ridden this board the most?
I had a lot of good days on this board in Whistler last year. I think actually the deepest powder day we had all season, I was on this guy, and it just floats so good. That's definitely the highlight. Like,
nice, you can really see that like surf inspired shape from the side. Oh, there it is.
definitely.
All right guys, so next up, Andreas is gonna talk about this crazy tail shape. What's going on with that board? What is that board?
This is the Capita Spring Break Nighthawk. Designed and developed by Corey Smith, and then all of the engineering power of the mothership facility in Austria. This guy, I would say the most unique feature is that amazingly long swallow tail. When you look at this sucker, even in comparison to some of these others, this is probably the longest swallowtail that we have here in the store, and maybe one of the longest swallowtails on the market. When you've got such a big cutout in your tail, you can imagine the tail naturally just wants to sink, making the front end of the board always plane out of the snow, giving you a ton of flotation, making sure that you never tomahawk. The other cool thing about having such a long swallowtail is that it still gives the board really good turnability, and overall, the board is going to feel like a pintail shape. Really quick turning, really agile.
Perfect, man, thank you. I wanna ride that board.
Kevin, I think this would be such a cool board for you to ride. And it's only $830.
I like it. All right guys, so next up, I'm gonna talk to you guys about the Nitro Cannon. So this thing is probably the tallest and one of the more skinnier powder boards that we've got here. And compared to the S420, which is the widest and shortest, this is gonna ride so much different. And the thing that stands out to me the most on this board is the massive and piercing nose on the board. So you can imagine riding this thing at high speeds, and this big pointy massive nose is just gonna help you to pierce the snow and like create your own lane through the powder. You gotta imagine as well that when you're riding this board, it's gonna be really difficult to make those short, quick turns. So this is like an amazing alpine board where you're riding big, straight, long lines and just carving really big and exaggerated turns through the powder. And a pretty limited board. I can't imagine there being more than a few hundred of these guys around. So a pretty unique one for Nitro, and I think one of the most unique powder boards you'll see on the mountain. And just as a bonus, it's taller than me, and I'm almost 6'4". This must be a 7-foot board.
203.
203. All right guys, so check out Andreas's channel as well over on Andreas Schubert, and check out TJ's channel. TJ, when's the next video coming out?
Video's coming out tomorrow, top 5 powder boards. Hope you guys check it out.
Oh, this is gonna go perfect. Are these your top 5 right here?
2 of these boards are in the list, so if you want the full scoop, that's where it is.
Nice. Awesome. If you guys have any questions about these crazy powder board shapes behind me, leave them down in the comments. I'll also put links in the description if you want to check them out. Also, come check out Andreas here at Comor. Come pay him a visit and say hello. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one soon.